On Personally Speaking this week, our guest is Danny Burstein, 7 times nominated for a Tony Award, most recently a winner for Moulin Rouge, a great actor, but also an incredible husband who talks about his involvement in caring for his beautiful wife, Rebecca, as she battled ALS. Stay with us. Welcome to Personally Speaking. I'm your host, Msgr Lisante, and one of Broadway's most beloved performers, Danny Burstein, joins me now. Danny currently stars as Harold Fiddler in Moulin Rouge, the musical, which earned him a Tony Award for Best Featured Actor in a Musical this year. He has also earned previous Tony nominations for his work in The Drowsy Chaperone, South Pacific, Cabaret, Follies, Fiddler on the Roof, and Golden Boy. Danny Burstein currently stars as Ebeneezer Scrooge in the new musical available to stream called Estella Scrooge, a modern retelling of Charles Dickens' classic A Christmas Carol. Danny was married for 20 years to the luminous Broadway leading lady Rebecca Luca, who lost her battle with ALS last December, and he's the father of 2 sons, Alec and Zach. Danny's here with us today to talk about his life, his career, his near-fatal experience with COVID, losing Rebecca, and what he realized matters most in life. Joining me now, I'm so pleased to welcome to Personally Speaking the incredibly talented, wonderful Tony Award-winning actor, Danny Burstein. Danny Burstein's our guest. I'm delighted to have him on. Danny, first of all, for a lot of our listeners and watchers around the world, tell us something about Estella Scrooge. At first, I thought maybe you were doing cross-dressing, but you are actually Ebeneezer. Who's Estrella?
It's Estella.
Estella, okay.
Yes, and she is. Oh my gosh, yeah. I just got here. I'm in Pennsylvania. Forgive me, and I just forgot the actress's name that is playing Estella Scrooge. Do you have it there in front of you?
I don't, but I can tell our folks around the world that to see Estella Scrooge, and particularly Estella Scrooge, right?
Yeah.
To see Estella Scrooge and to see Danny playing Ebeneezer Scrooge, all they need to do is go to BroadwayOnDemand.com or StreamingMusicals.com. But tell us something about it. Is it a modern telling? An ancient?
It is a modern telling of the Dickens, of course, novel, A Christmas Carol, and it deals with a woman who's the great granddaughter of Ebeneezer Scrooge. Okay. And she is, I'm trying to think of her name, and she is
Betsy Wolfe.
Betsy Wolfe. I was going to say Beth, and I was like, forgive me, I just got to Pennsylvania. I have a house out in Pennsylvania. I live in New York City normally, right, and just made it here in time for the interview.
Thank you for that.
Oh, not at all. Of course, it's an honor to be with you. But so it's a modern telling of A Christmas Carol. And she is very similar in a way to her great grandfather, Ebeneezer Scrooge, in that she is miserly. Okay. And she runs a big business, and she's putting this house in Chicago that houses people with very little means. She's putting them out of business because they're not making any money.
Okay.
It's a poorhouse, basically. So she's putting them out of business. And she goes there directly herself to give them the news, and finds out that there is someone there that she used to be in love with who is running the place. Okay. And then, of course, like the traditional story, she's visited by 3 spirits as she sleeps there. Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to ask you, Danny, my mom and I, who's 101, by the way, we watched last night the 1951 Alistair Sim version of Christmas Carol. Is it intimidating at all to take on a role that's been done a number of times before by amazing actors? And you're an amazing actor, but how to find a new approach?
It is intimidating. I'll be honest with you. That is my favorite version, the Alistair Sim version. Yeah. He is brilliant in that movie. So, but it is, to answer your question, I did that also with because I did Fiddler on the Roof on Broadway, and I played Tevye.
Yeah.
And basically, what you have to do when you do revivals is you learn as much as possible about the show. I read everything I could about Fiddler on the Roof. I tried, and with this, I tried to watch all the other versions of Christmas Carol, and then just you learn as much as you can. You get all that information. You sort of bring it into rehearsal with in a backpack, if you will. And then you sort of have to let it go because you have to make it your own as much as possible and make it as real as possible. And as the great Stephen Sondheim said, anything you do, let it come from you, then it will be new. And that's very much what you have to do. You have to go on faith that there will be things that you will just naturally bring to it, as long as you're doing the important things like making it as real as possible. And that's the goal, no matter what the genre is.
I mentioned in the introduction, of course, about your work in Moulin Rouge and about your Tony Award for it. I'm wondering, how's the cast juggling the reality that after all this time, you start again, you're touching the hearts and minds of people who love the show. And again, we're grappling with the possibility of shutdowns.
Yeah, well, we've had to shut down since Thursday night. Yeah. And we shut down the whole weekend. We're hoping to get back tomorrow night, knock on wood. Right. But it's not easy. Yeah. It's not easy because you don't want anybody to get sick. And, a few people have. And so for the safety of everyone, they're keeping the show closed until they're sure that we can all go back safely. Yeah. But now we were testing twice a week, and then we were testing 3 times a week, and now we're testing every day that we have a show, just to make sure that everybody's okay. And everybody, as far as I know, on Broadway is starting that new protocol. And there are, we were doing pretty well with masks backstage. All the stagehands and dressers always wear masks. And the actors, of course, when they come down, as soon as they leave their dressing room, they don't have masks on because they're about to go on stage. Right. But now we're keeping the masks on until we're about to walk on stage. Just before we walk out, we take off our masks just for extra safety. Wow. It is disconcerting. But the good part is that everybody who is vaccinated or boosted is not getting that sick. Mm-hmm. And we're very, very happy about that. And, that just tells us that, the science is working and masks are working and boosters are working and vaccines are working. And if we keep going along that route, then, maybe we can eradicate this thing once and for all. So it won't keep mutating and mutating.
Danny Burstein, for our listeners and watchers, has himself been afflicted with COVID and wrote a powerful piece about that experience. And I think of all the wonderful things you accomplished in your life, Danny, I think for everyone who reads that piece, hopefully it'll push them into the camp of saying, let's do what we need to do to stay well. But whether it's in our church or in our larger community, I'm still running into people who they're not getting vaccinated. They won't wear the mask. They don't want to be told what to do. This incredible, and just you and I talking about it now, I'll get emails and letters from people saying, I'm somehow wrong for saying this. But what do you do, Danny? Because you've used the gift of convincing to try to convince people. What do you do with those who are foolishly making of this such a political issue instead of the health issue that it is?
Right. We never think twice about polio anymore. Yeah. We don't think twice about rubella or the mumps because we had vaccines when we were kids in order to go to school. And they eradicated those illnesses. And because we forget, we probably most of us weren't there, but how many children were afflicted with polio. Mm-hmm. And yet people pulled together to make sure that didn't happen anymore by getting their vaccines. And I can tell you, having spent a week in the hospital where literally everyone around me was dying. Yeah. This was the early days. It was March of 2020, early days of the illness before the vaccines. And I was terrified that the next person that they would be calling to go into the ICU would be me, to be put on a respirator. And they actually talked to me about being put on a respirator. And I just didn't want it. And if you spent 10 minutes in that hospital, you'd know that you should get a vaccine, just if not for your own life, for the lives of the people around you. You could be asymptomatic, meaning, you don't have any symptoms at all, but still pass along the illness to your children. Little children are dying, for goodness sake. And especially our senior citizens, anyone over 65, they're more susceptible, or somebody who is immunocompromised in some way. Yeah. Why not help the ones you love and protect them? It's one of the most unselfish things that you can do. And I'm not a religious person in per se, but I believe that when you're doing a kindness for the people around you, you're living your best life.
It's a mitzvah. Yes.
It's a mitzvah. Yeah. My mother was raised Catholic. My father was raised Jewish. Yeah. And my dad teaches ancient Greek philosophy and has for over 50 years at Queen's College. You've got it all. So I've got a lot. And so I was raised with, basic moral values and believing in people and love and kindness and doing the right thing and admitting when you're wrong. There's something about the time that we're living in where I think people are just afraid to say, all right, I screwed up. That was wrong. Let's change direction, because it's one of the bravest things that you can do. Yeah. Admitting that, you made a mistake, or admitting that the path that you were on was not correct for you. Yeah. And you decide to change it and help yourself and the people around you. Yeah. It's a very brave thing. And I think the people who are refusing to get the vaccine at this point will hopefully come to that kind of an epiphany and see that it's not just about them and someone telling them not what to do. It's about helping the planet and helping the world and helping mankind. There are over 800,000 Americans alone who are dead. Yeah. So why would you want to keep that going?
Yeah. And I'd add, if I can, that I think it starts too with our political leaders. I'm old enough to remember John Kennedy, and I love that he got on TV to say, when the Bay of Pigs went south, at the end of the day, it's my responsibility. We made a mistake, wrong decision. I own it. Yeah. Like, oh my God, look at that. We wish we had that now in national politics, where people would say, I messed up,
Yeah, of course. And it's okay. And then, ironically, they gain more support. They garner more support after that, because people see that they're human. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that, it seems to me.
We like humanity. It's a good thing. Danny Burstein, for those who may not know, was married for over 20 years to the most beautiful, wonderful, talented actress, Rebecca Luca. And I don't know if you knew this coming in, but Rebecca was a guest on our show. And
I didn't know that.
And I will send you too, because I found it recently, the CD of our interview. But I mentioned it because one of my regular questions, and it was a question to her, was, Rebecca, you could choose 1 billion people in the world to marry. What has Danny got? And then she explained what it was about you that drew her to you. And I think, in light of her incredible effect on so many people, yourself included, obviously, I'd ask you the same question. We know the exterior talents of the woman, but what was it that made you say, I want to spend the rest of my life with this woman?
Because her beauty was not just outer beauty, it was inner beauty. It had to do with a kindness that I'd never known before, and a humanity and a decency and a love that she had, not just for her work and the people in the business, but for every living creature. She was kind to everyone. Of course, she sang before presidents and people of the world, world leaders. And she treated the fellow who was a guy named Patty, who lives up the block, who's homeless, who lives on the corner over there. she treated him the exact same way she treated George Bush and Barack Obama and Gorbachev. She was exactly the same person.
Wow.
She loved everyone. She was kind to everyone. And she had this inner beauty that it was literally like she had a light. There was something beatific about her. And I'd never met anybody quite like that. And then, of course, her beautiful talent, she opened her mouth to sing. And I say this all the time, her heart fell out.
Yeah.
She was just, this pure of heart person. She was raised in Helena, Alabama, about 20 miles south of Birmingham. And she knew she wanted to come to New York to sing. And she worked as hard as anyone could ever work and made it happen. But she also had this incredible innate gift. And, everybody saw it, and everybody who knew her loved her.
Yeah.
She didn't have any enemies. She was like one of those kinds of people, just everybody loved her.
Yeah.
And, why she ever chose me, I have no idea, but I'm certainly glad that she did. Yeah. Because that's the thing. My wife passed away a year ago from ALS. And that's what keeps me going. The fact that I have such gratitude for the 20 years that we were married and 23 and a half that we were together all together. I love her and miss her. Ironically, this coming Thursday is the anniversary of her passing. And I have a lot of, mixed feelings about all that, because I just can't help feeling sad about it. But at the same time, I feel so damn lucky that I got to spend all that time with her. And we never wanted to be apart.
Yeah.
We just loved spending time together. A lot of people, actors, they do their shows on Broadway or wherever, and they want to go out and celebrate with friends, and they want everybody to tell them how wonderful they were after shows. Not me. I couldn't wait to get home to her. And, it was a very special, very, very special relationship. And I know how lucky I am. Yeah. And she fought extra hard at the end to get resolutions passed for ALS research. And one bill just did pass both houses of Congress. And now President Biden will be signing it, a bill called Act for ALS. So her legacy lives on. That's and there are scholarships named after her, and her alma mater in Alabama, the University of Montevallo, has named their stage after her, and their main stage in their theater complex. And I went down there and spoke. And I'm very proud of everything that she accomplished while she was here on Earth. But she did it, she really did it herself. She was that kind of a person. She was very, very special.
Danny, I wanted to mention to you, this is a confession, but I'm sure I'm not the first or the last. I'm one of the millions who, I think it was right after seeing her as Marion the Librarian and the Music Man, that I had a big, big crush on your wife. I want you to know that, okay?
Oh, sure. Everybody, I feel like in a way I have to share her with the world, because, because of her special gift. She just did that. First time when she sang My White Knight, in the Music Man, I was a wreck in the audience. I didn't expect it. I was just sitting there, and of course, you talk about the show, but I hadn't seen it before. And the first time I was in the audience, I thought I was going to, ugly cry in the middle of the Music Man. So I had to keep everything in check, hold myself together. But it was she was spectacular in that. She
Luminous.
Loved that show. Yeah, Luminous. You're absolutely right. And I think if you asked her, she would tell you that was her favorite role of all time, Marion. Yeah.
I want to ask you too, because I run into this so often with people in my parish, but when you are the spouse and you get this ALS diagnosis, the reaction on your part, is it fear? Is it, I have to step up to the plate and do what's necessary for this person I love? How am I going to rise to the occasion and do it right? What goes through the mind of a guy who knows she's going to face a lot, but I've got to be both the central caretaker and the support and the encouragement to this woman who I adore?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I wasn't thinking so much about myself.
Mm,
I was thinking about her. I knew that all those things would have to happen.
yeah.
I knew I would have to step up. I knew that I would be her primary caregiver. But what I didn't know was just how hard that would be.
Yeah.
It's a good thing I didn't know how hard it would be, and how hard it would be on her, especially. But especially when she became ill, because she got the diagnosis at the end in November of 2019, and then the pandemic hit. And I got COVID-19 and I wound up in the hospital.
Yeah.
And then nobody would come to help her. So,
Mm,
because everybody was afraid of getting sick. So I was her primary caregiver, and I could barely, walk half a block,
ah,
but I had to, get groceries and do all the rest of the things around the house and make sure that she was taken care of. It was very, very difficult at first. It really was. It was a difficult time. But then as time passed and people became a little less leery,
mhm.
we had a group of people, of Broadway actors, who came over and helped. And really, there was about 25 people who rotated in. And, we were good about making sure everybody was protected and that everybody was
Mhm.
wearing their masks. And I got a little lax a couple of times in the house, making dinner, that kind of thing. And people, well, I'm taking this off. But everybody felt like, that they were safe enough.
Mm,
And because, we were so safe about things for the most part, except, at those last minute times when she was getting close to the end. And so somehow we made it, and we made it through the good graces of and the kindness of so many friends. I think also just the fact that she was who she was,
yeah.
people wanted to help. People
Yeah.
wanted to be there for her. So I see her heavenly beams coming in through the window here. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Well, now Heavenly Beams is a perfect segue. So, we've had all sorts of folks on the show, but one of the more interesting guests was Ed Asner, and he identifies in Wikipedia as what he calls an atheistic Jewish man. So when he was on the show, he was about 90, and I said, you call yourself atheistic Jewish, and I'm just wondering, as you are up in age, are you still an atheist? And he said, let's just say as I get toward the end, I keep hoping you people are right, And I mentioned that because he said, I want to believe in a heaven. He said, and he loved his parents apparently incredibly. He said, but I wouldn't believe in a heaven unless my parents were the best people I ever knew were there too. Is it your hope that this concept of life beyond this life, of being reunited with people we love, that it's true?
well, it would be nice to think so.
Yeah.
Uh, but I'm such a
A doubting Thomas.
it's not a doubting Thomas. I see myself as a realist. If
Yeah.
there's something there, I can see it, and if there's not, then it's just something that maybe I is there because people hope it's there.
Yeah.
And it's not that I can't say who can say whether it's
Hmm.
absolutely true or not.
Right.
But if it is true, then yeah, I can't wait to see her. Of
Yeah.
course, after you lose someone, you make all these deals with them when you're alone and saying, wishing that they would come back, and just show you a sign.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm waiting, and if not, then if it's true, then we're going to have a wonderful reunion when we do see each other again.
Well, if I get there before you, Danny, I promise I will try to haunt you in any way I can.
Please do.
It's that annoying priest again. But one of the things Danny Burstein, for our listeners and watchers, has seen as one of the beautiful byproducts of this experience is both his own illness and Rebecca's passing is something he says about kindness. And I found it interesting, Danny, in that the motto of our parish are just two words: kindness matters. And in this very hard-hearted world, it really has become more important. But listen to Danny, to our folks. I almost died in the hospital. People were dying all around me, and it did change me. But the most important thing was you have to live as much as possible and keep going despite all, and be kind. And that's what lasts. Being kind and putting goodness and love out there first. That's what lasts. The love that you put out into the world. And that's why you have an opportunity to do something for other people by kindness, then you should grab that opportunity. I encourage people to live out loud and to live as much as possible. Danny, we're going to close, but I want to encourage our listeners and watchers to get online and watch Estella Scrooge to see Danny's
it's
interpretation.
A lot of fun.
Let's see, Danny be Ebeneezer Scrooge. I'm looking for always a new interpretation. And of course, to go, if they can, to see Moulin Rouge. And Danny, the great thing about you is, talk about a working actor. Margaret Colin is one of our dear friends. And I say, Margaret, you keep getting wonderful opportunities, but she can't hold a candle to you, Danny. You work and work and work. People in so many ways get to see the various dimensions of your talent. But one of the greatest gifts you have, if I can close on this, when we had Nicholas Sparks, the author, on, I said, what's the secret to a good marriage? And he said 2 words: choose wisely. And whether it was about choosing and being chosen by Rebecca, or choosing to share right values with your kids, or listening to your parents when they gave you right values, you have time and time again chosen wisely. And you are really an inspiration to so many of us, a great talent and a great man. Thank you so much for being on Personally Speaking, Danny.
Thank you so much. That is so kind of you to say.
As we end today's program, I want to thank you all for being with us. If you need to reach out to me for any reason, you can get me at personallyspeakingpodcast@gmail.com. If you'd like to see past episodes, go to YouTube and punch in Personally Speaking with Msgr Jim Lisante. And please don't forget to click like and subscribe. Personally Speaking is also available as a podcast, personallyspeakingpodcast.buzzsprout.com. Or you can go to www.closeencountertv.com or www.ollmp.org. And you'll also find there our weekly Mass and homilies. I'm going to encourage you also to look on Facebook at Personally Speaking with Msgr Jim Lisante. We're also now on Instagram at Personally Speaking Podcast. Please share and let others know about Personally Speaking. I'm privileged to serve as host and executive producer of Personally Speaking. Our producer is Lisa Jandovitz. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll be with you again next time on Personally Speaking.